So in the morning session, we completed how to handle the user-defined exceptions and also how we are going to raise the predefined exceptions. Okay. In this, now we are going to work on. We have some exceptions, raised in exceptions. Okay. So how we can go to handle the exceptions within the exception, means we want to raise the exception within the exception. So up to now we are going to declare the exceptions and will be going to handle the exception within the executable session, and also we can possible to handle the exception in exception, right? So now we are going to raise the exception in exception session. Raise the exception in exception session. So here observe carefully. First of all, I want to declare one respected variables or exception. So here we have two exceptions. Here we have two exceptions. One is exception A1 and exception A2, right? Then next we are going to start the begin, and again we are going to write the begin and raise a exception. So raise a exception. So here observe this one. We have two respected blocks are there, begin and blocks, right? So within the begin and block, so here observe this one. This is one begin and block. Okay. In this begin and block, again we have one more begin and block. In this begin and block, we have a exception. So in this exception, so these in this respected exception begin and block, we are going to raise the exception within the exception. Within the exception, let us we are going to develop the program and get the clarity. So first of all, here observe carefully. So we want to raise an exception within the exception. Sorry, in exception block. There. So now I am going to develop a simple program. So declare declare. So here I am going to declare. First of all, I want to declare one exception. Okay. So E1, this is our exception first, exception 1. So now I am going to specify begin. Okay. So directly I am going to specify rise E1. Okay. I am going to raise exception. Okay. So here I am going to raise a exception. So when E1, then I am going to display some message, dbms output dot put line. Okay. So here we are going to specify the some message. E1 exception is fired. Okay. And then next we are going to end the program. So let us first we execute this one. Once we execute, what happened? The respected exception is going to fire. I didn't write any logic, just I am going to simply execute the execute the program and raise the exception. Okay, the same program, but my requirement is I want to raise a exception within the exception block, right? So that is my requirement. So here for that purpose I am going to use one more exception, E2 exception. Okay. So where you want to raise this exception? So this is the exception block. This is the exception block in our first program. So up to this is the logic, right? So here in this one, now I'm going to write one more begin program. Now I'm going to write one more begin program, right? So for this, so here observe carefully, this is one program, one logic. So right now how many blocks? We have two blocks, one is outer, another one is inner block. So now I want to raise a exception in exception session. So here this is the exception, right? In this exception I want to raise a second exception. I want to raise a second exception. So same logic, I want to raise a second exception, but that exception will be going to handle in outer block. That exception will be going to handle in outer block. So here, then here I want to raise that second exception. So right now where we are going to raise the exception? Exception session. We are going to raise the exception in exception session. That exception I want to handle in this exception. I want to handle this. I want to handle that exception in this exception. So here when e2 then dbms output dot put line. So e2 exception is fired. Let us now we are going to execute the program and check it. Exception 1 is fired and automatically exception 2 is also fired. All of you clear on this? So very simple. Okay, here very simple program. So interview point of view, they are asking this question: can we possible to raise a exception in within the exception? Absolutely, we can possible to raise the exception, but we maintain the two blocks. Within one block, it is not possible. Within one block, it's not possible. Why? Because here, observe this one. Suppose I don't want to write this one. I don't want to write this exception. What happened? The exception is going to rise, but we are getting the error. We are getting the error because of what is the error? Where exactly you are going to? Okay, then here we are going to maintain one more end. Okay, if in case exception is going to fire, but it still we are getting the one error, that is called as a unhandled user defined exception. Unhandled user defined exception, but actually we declare the exception and also we raise the exception, but where we want to handle that exception, we don't have action. So that is the reason we are going to raise the exception here. Raise the exception here. Now automatically the program is going to execute it and get the data. All of you clear? So this is the way we are going to handle the means raise the exception within the exception and handle the exception in within the exception also. Clear? Any question on this program? All of you. Okay, fine. Let us next we can go to work on another topic. Error trapping functions. Error trapping functions. Okay, fine. There. So here error trapping functions. What is this error trapping functions? Why we want to use this one? So there are two error trapping functions supported by Oracle. Supported by Oracle. What is the use of this error trapping functions means? In real life, we are going to write so many lines of coding. So many lines of coding. But in which level we are done the mistakes, we don't know. Suppose if the program is having only 10 to 15 lines, we can easily read it each and every line and will be finalized where exactly the error is occurred. but in real life we are going to write so many lines of coding. Suppose example 500 lines or 1000 lines. So if in case, suppose example, we are going to develop a one program, the program contains 1000 lines. Okay, so finally we are going to execute the program is going to show us a lot of errors. Okay, lot of errors, but we don't know where exactly. So suppose we are not understand where exactly the errors are occurred. So many errors are occurred, looping errors is going to there. But if we want to understand up to which line the program is going to successfully executed, from which line the program is getting the errors. So that is the reason. Means I want to know the looping process where the program is going to up to which line, up to which level the program is going to executed successfully, from which line the program is getting the errors. So for that purpose, for reference purpose, the errors we are going to use this one. SQL code, it returns the numbers, and SQL error message, error mem, it returns error number with error message. So let us, here I am going to declare one, sorry, I am going to develop a simple program which is as the actual error code and error message. So here, observe this one. This is one variable, and I am going to retrieve the salary and to move into this variable and respected number. So the respected query is getting result is success or not. The respected query is getting the result is success, means it is written the proper result, because of we have a some salary with the employee number 7369. If the employee number doesn't have, automatically it is going to show us error. So let us, now I'm going to execute this program and get the clarity. Declare. So here I'm going to specify one variable and begin select sal into vsal from emp, where emp number equal to 7369. Suppose example I am going to pass the parameters. Now we are going to print the message dbms output dot put line. Just I want to print the employee number only, vsal. Okay, and end the program. Let us we execute this one and we'll be check it. 7369 absolute. Oh. Seven three six nine, it is going to return the exact salary of that respected employee. Okay, again we execute this one. Now I'm going to pass 7412. It is going to show us no data found. No data found. The respected data is going to show us a proper result, right? So here what exactly I want to do, I want to know whether my program up to these 5 lines is successfully completed or not. So now we are going to implement this SQL. So we have a syntaxes. Yeah, we don't have any gap between that respected both keywords. SQL code. There. So here it is going to show us the SQL code 7369. So what is this? The SQL code is going to return 0. 0 means success. Up to this 5 lines is successfully completed. Up to 5 lines is successfully completed. Suppose, say example, here I am going to give 7369 directly. What happened? We are getting the result with 0. 0 means successfully the query is executed. Suppose here I am going to, I don't want to give this one. I don't want to give anything. Now we are going to execute. So here what happened? So the respected expression means is missing, and here it doesn't show us any error. 1 second. 7412. So here error at line 1, and also it doesn't execute this condition and it is getting the same normal error, right? But here, how we are going to understand whether the query is going to be executed or not? So here it is clearly error out. Our respected query doesn't have any data, but in the same manner, now I'm going to give the proper 7902, and what happened? We are getting the 3000 along with 0 means it is show as the respected up to that level it is successfully completed. If it is error, automatically it is going to show as error. Suppose I'm going to write one more message, error. Yeah, observe this one. What is the result we are getting? 7902 is getting the salary is 3000. Up to 5 lines are successful completed. That is the reason it is going to show us it is a normal and successful completion. We don't get any error in this point of program, right? If any error is occurred, then automatically it is going to stop it. Okay, suppose then again I'm going to select sal into vsal from emp where employee number equal to 7901. Okay, and now we want to execute this one. So what happened? So right now how many how many lines we have? There are 12 lines, right? But in this 12 lines we are getting the error in the first line. In the first up to first line it is successfully shows, but here from line 8th here we are getting the error. So in this point of time we are clearly understand. So how many times we are writing error code, trapping code? One time. So sorry, we are writing 2 times in our program, but still it is going to show us only 1 time. Means absolutely we are going to understand. So where exactly the error is going to occur. So if you want to maintain the row count also, we can go to understand. So at which level the error is going to occur. Again in the same program here, SQL code, SQL error. Let us check it. So the first record is successfully completion, but second record is getting the error. Suppose now I'm going to write one more program, but here observe this one. So the third one, 7369. What happened? The first query is executed successfully. It is clearly understand 0 normal successful completion. In the second query is wrong, so it is getting, but the third one is correct, but still the third one is also does not. So here in this point of time we are easily understand up to which level the program is going to execute it. So up to here the program is executed successfully. The program does not execute these 2 records. Even though third statement is successfully executed, but still the program does not read that one. Why? Because up to here only the program execution is stopped. So in this point of time we can clearly understand up to which level the program is successful completion, from which level the program does not execute it. Okay, for that purpose we are going to use this error trapping functions. All of you clear on this? Error trapping functions. Any questions on this? Then So next we are going to work on one more function, rise application error. It's a very important interview point of they're asking this question. Up to now we are worked on predefined exceptions and user defined exception. Okay, predefined exceptions is developed by Oracle people. User defined exception is developed by as a developer and will be going to print some message, right? But here, so for every exception is having some error code, right? Is having some error code. What is that error code? Then here, if you go for predefined exceptions, okay, we have some error code, right? Error code and error message. Error code and error message. So now I want to implement our own error code and error message. So here, then observe this one. Rise application error. If you want to display your own user defined exception number, if you want to display your own user defined exception number and exception message, then we can use this rise application error. Rise application error. So for predefined exception, we have a specific error number, and user defined exception we directly handle that exception while using user defined exception. We are using user, but here I want to define the exception, then but here I want to create our own user defined exception number and user defined exception name. So for that purpose we want to use the rise application error. If you want to create your own user defined exception number, own user defined exception name, then we can use the rise application error. So here observe this one, which error number we are going to use for this. So here Oracle people clearly tell to us, you always use the error number, user defined error number is between minus 20,000 to minus 20,999. Okay, we have some limit, we cannot possible to use the different numbers for this one. We are using only a particular limit is there. We have some edge points there, starting edge and ending edge. So what is that edge points is this one. So minus 20,000 to minus 20,999. So these points we are going to maintain while going to create our own user defined exception number and exception message. And also here it is used to give the message up to 512 characters. Up to 512 characters we can possible to maintain this. Means we can possible to display the message. So earlier system is going to display the message no data found, too many rows, means more than exact more than fetching, and invalid cursor already open. These are all messages are pre-built messages which are developed by Oracle people. Now instead of that message I want to display our own message. Okay, so in this point of time we are going to use this error number and error message. Let us here we can go to understand. We declare the variable and declare one exception. Declare one exception. Here observe this one. Earlier if you define the exception, directly we are going to rise exception. Okay, directly we are going to rise exception, and we are going to specify the when a, then we are going to use the dbms output dot put line, right? Instead of that dbms package we are going to use our own package, our own message, that is called as a rise application error. So rise application error is this one. Okay, so that is the reason we are going to use this exception. That let us now I'm going to explain to you, then you can get the clarity. Okay, let us now we are going to develop a simple program. Then here just I'm going to show the difference between a normal exception and a rise application error. Okay, declare, we are going to define the exception. Okay, so E is the exception, right? Then next we are going to start begin. So here observe this one, rise E. Okay, and then next we are going to write some message. We are going to specify the exception. When E then dbms output dot put line. I don't want to implement any logic, just I'm going to show you how the respective rise application error is going to work. So here we are going to display the message. The message is exception is filed. Okay, and the program. Now we execute, exception is also filed, right? So next what we do, instead of that exception, I want to raise our own user defined message while using rise application error. That. So here rise application error, but here we have a limit minus 20,001 and will be message rise application error is filed. Yeah. Now I'm going to put this line as a comment. Okay, means the program does not read that one. So system is clearly shows which is the error is going to occur. All of you clear? So the respected error is going to handle, right? The expected error is going to show us. It is going to show us it is a error. Rise application error is going to fire. So because of this error number as take as a error number, error at line 1. So here so and so error is going to fire. This is the rise application is going to fire. So instead of predefined number and message, if you want to display your own user defined exception number and exception name, at the time we can go to use the rise application error. Rise application error. So that is the difference between rise application error and dbms output dot line. So don't get any confusion. Simple logic. Okay, if you want to print the predefined exception, then we can go to use the dbms. Okay, if you want to display the user defined exception number, so this is our own number, and user defined exception error name, then we can use the rise application error. Then we can use the rise application error. All of you clear? Okay, any question on this one? Rise application error. Okay, then so next we can go to work on, observe this one, unnamed exception. Unnamed exception. So this unnamed exception, okay, if you want to handle the other than Oracle 20 predefined errors, we are using unnamed method. Suppose say example, Oracle is supported up to how many error handling? Up to 20 predefined errors. If any error is occurred within that 20 errors, automatically we have a way, we are possible to handle that errors while using the exceptions, right? Because Oracle define exception names for regularly occurred errors. Other than 20, they are not defining exception names. All of you clear? Actually, Oracle is going to analyze the programs. They are going to fix only 20 errors, so which are very frequently raised in our programs. But they don't want to implement more than 20 errors, so they don't want to implement. They are going to stop it only for 20 errors. For 20 errors, we have 20 exceptions is there. Okay. But in this case, okay, in this case, we are providing exception names and also associated this exception name with appropriated error number using exception init function. Okay, if in case we are getting more than 20 errors, okay, so all 20 errors is going to applicable in our program. Suppose example, we developed a 1000 lines of program. In that 1000 lines of program we are getting around 30 to 40 errors. In that 30 to 40 errors, that predefined 20 exceptions is also fire. Each and every one is going to fire. So 2 times, 3 times, 1 time is going to fire. But one of the error is going to fire, but the error does not understand. Okay, the error does not related to that existing 20 errors. It is a new error. But how the machine is going to understand? As a developer we are not understand, still it is going to fire. So we can go to handle that 20 up to 20 errors we can easily handle, but we cannot handle which is error is going to occur without which is error is occurred and also does not related to that 20 errors. At the time we want to handle that error also, that error we want to handle while using pragma exception init. Pragma exception init. Here pragma is a compiler directive, and that is the time of, at the time of compilation only PLSQL runtime engine associated error number with exception name. Okay, so initially we are going to define the user defined exception name and error number. Okay, so here, and this function is used in declare session of the PLSQL block. Observe this one. We declare one variable and define one exception. Okay, so but here we clearly tell to the machine this is the exception. Okay, so why we want to use this exception? We want to handle this exception, we want to use this exception for unnamed error, because of it does not match to our 20 errors. So for that purpose we clearly initialize pragma exception init. It is a one error exception, it is a one exception. Okay, it work like as a predefined exception, and we can give the one number, next begin, and we are going to implement our logic. Then and also exception we are going to write it whenever this respected exception is going to fire. Okay, this respected error is going to fire, that for that error, so unnamed error. Okay, so then it is going to print this message, it is a pragma error. So then we can easily understand, okay, this respected error does not match to our existing 20 errors. So we can go to understand where the error is going to occur and how we are going to solve that respected error. All of you clear? But it is not worked on here. Then